Good evening everyone, good evening committee, good evening other members, good evening our press reporter over there who's actually his last meeting for us, actually Steve Knowles, who's moving on, so...
A sarcastic round of applause there.
No, it's not. Not at all. It's been a good man actually, very sorry to see you go Steve, I know there's a lot of reorganisation going on in the local papers, so wish you all the very best in your new role. Sounds like a good one. You can tell the people later, not me. It sounds like a good one, but all the best to you. And also to one of the candidates that are out there, Brian, who's sitting in. Minutes of the last meeting, only having our sign this off as the correct record.
Agree.
Apologies for absence.
Councillor Joe Guilford and Councillor Daniel Cribbin.
Councillor Guilford and Cribbin, any other apologies we're aware of?
Councillor Moore, please.
Councillor Moore and Luke. Okay, thank you. Declarations of members' interests, to disclose them now, or such time in the meeting where you think it's appropriate to do so. None. First substantial item tonight, well, actually no, I'm going to change the order slightly. I just remembered in time, Councillor Griffin. Human resources issue, this has got an important meeting to go to later this evening. So I'm bringing that forward to the first item, shared parental leave policy report. Councillor Griffin.
Thank you. I'm sure you've read all of this, the complicated papers, the full shared parental leave and pay strategy. I'm asking members to agree to adopt this policy. This is a statutory requirement. This is something we have to do, and it will give parents greater flexibility in sharing the care of their child in the first year, either after birth or adoption. We already have in place an occupational maternity pay scheme, which pays above the statutory minimum. And it has been considered that to pay the statutory minimum for shared parental leave for male employees would leave the council open to challenge of discrimination. There is also the question of direct sexual orientation discrimination if applied similarly to a same-sex partner of the mother. I therefore trust members will agree that shared parental pay for qualifying employees may be paid at the same rate as the Council's occupational maternity pay scheme. You will note from the report that the uptake is likely to be limited and any costs will be met from existing budgets. Thank you,
Thank you, Councillor Griffin. Any comments? Are you happy to support?
I have a question, Chairman. It's simply because I don't understand. I have difficulty with the language. Does this apply or not to two males in a civil partnership or marriage who adopt a child?
Well, I'll ask
Tony,
but it does sort of, in a sense, cover that in the report.
It does.
Thank you. That was, I had some difficulty with the language in certain places.
thank you, Councillor Chandler. The recommendation is that the policy be adopted as shared recommendation. Are you happy to support that committee?
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Griffin. And now to you.
I have to love you and love you, I'm afraid. Yes.
Now move on to strategic planning issues. Moulton and the old top finished design stage. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Chairman. Members will, of course, be familiar with the concept and actual facts of village design statements. You'll see from the report that we already have 18 such adopted within the district, which I think is quite good. And it does provide an opportunity for the local community to be engaged in thinking about and reporting about the way they see their community developing, what is important to them and what they would like to preserve in the way of look and feel and things of that nature. It isn't, of course, a neighbourhood plan. They've been introduced since the VDSs were introduced, but nevertheless it still does have an important place within the planning hierarchy, and so we bring before you tonight simply to ask that you approve to resolve that the two VDSs in front of you should be put forward for a consultation period of 6 weeks. There's one from Malton Village, which is quite an interesting one, in that they do have a very nearly complete neighbourhood plan as well. So you can see perhaps, if you look at both of those documents, which are available, you can see how they would work together. The Yeltoft example is a parish which I know quite well, has not yet decided to make a neighbourhood plan, but has been working at the idea of village design statement for rather a long time. Lots of things occurred which interrupted this process, but they have got to a stage now where it is believed by all concerned, that means not only the producers of the document, the community, but also the strategic planning team here who've had a chance to look at that and discuss it with the villages concerned, that it's time for these to go forward for a 6-week consultation period, at the end of which it may either go back to be reworked because there were flaws in it, or it might then come forward to a full council at some point, possibly by a strategy group, probably by a strategy group, for adoption as a supplementary planning document. So all we're asked to do this evening is to approve that these two village design statements should go forward for consultation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Charter. Members, before we get to the consultation, both from Malton and Yelverton, any questions or comments? Councillor Hill?
Just going to say, Chairman, I think that a fair amount of work has already been done on this, so I don't see any reason why that shouldn't go forward. So
This is a result item,
Agree
just
with
bring
that.
this gap
Yeah.
consultation.
Yeah.
You have to support that, committee?
Because this is
Sorry, I read that, Councillor.
I did speak to my colleague here earlier on, and I was getting confused between plans and design statements.
Yes.
Which usually must be the years I've been going down something. But at the end of the day, I think one thing that has come out of all this is that the work that has gone into this stage, and it's taken place over a long time, I gather, reflects the interest of the community in trying to do what is the best for the community. Hopefully not seeking to frustrate all development, but in actually activate certain shape properly. And I would say that there's a lot of shot out of Chris over, I would say that I would be also saying to my fellow Daventry members, Daventry town members, but in actual fact they also should have worked their way towards trying to put together, as it were, a parish town design statement, which was done in part, but was really something of a gesture rather than a truly consultative document. And once again, that wouldn't be on the basis that this is designed if we can to put a span in the works and frustrate development, but in actual fact to make certain that development shapes up the expectations of our community, that it respects the historic nature of this particular town. Those are the sort of things that certainly I personally try to champion, though with good success. But in actual fact, others might pick up the patterns that work in the future runners. So these are my observations and opportunities to say that this is work that's been well done, and as an example, others might emulate with advantage.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. One good thing is about village design statements and also neighbourhood plans, it involves the whole community. That's very helpful. We have a chance to input. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on that, Joe. It was good to see in the Yelverton.
Excuse me.
Sorry. It's good to see in the village design statement for Yelverton that young people have been involved in an earlier stage by submitting paintings and pictures. I think I was just wondering what there is in the district council to encourage young people to take part in both neighbourhood planning and village design statements, because it seems to me it's an important voice to hear.
Thank you for that comment, and you'll not be surprised to learn that I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's always been part of my job, if I've been consulted by communities in my role as strategic planning portfolio holder, as I sometimes am, for advice on the production of either a village design statement or a neighbourhood plan, that they should involve the entire community and particularly give thought to the youngsters who have to put up with whatever it is they come up with in school.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Okay, we have to set the two resolved items. Thank you. We'll come back to you later, Councillor Charter. The next item is environment issues. Unfortunately, Councillor Cribbin can't be here this evening. She's currently elsewhere. So I'll just lead on this paper. It's a pretty short one, actually. On investments in the environment promotion, so hopefully you all read it. And what the recommendation is that this be promoted to the wider communities outlined in our group report. And as you can see on the report there, you've got, it's not a not-for-profit environmental accreditation scheme designed to help the business sector save money and reduce impacts on the environment. For organisations of all sizes, including large corporations, small to medium-sized enterprises, public sector and the first sector, have adopted it on a national and international level. So are you happy to accept the recommendation to be promoted in the wider community as outlined in the report?
Seems agreed.
Thank you, Mr. Reid. Thank you. Of course you can. Let's put your hand up.
Well, it was there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. It seems to me to make
no-brainer.
absolute sense. But I did want to say that it does, you know, when it does seem so simple for the district council to be a champion and an advocate of good business and its work practices, I think we've missed a few opportunities to do that differently recently with 0 hours contracts, for instance, and living wage. And I think, you know, a paper like this just points out how easy it is for the district council to position itself as a champion and as a model of good practice. So I hope in the future that, you know, these kinds of examples of where we're leading the way and we think we can encourage other people to follow us and to join with us can be evolved and reproduced in other ways.
Thank you for that. I can assure you over the years, this council has done exactly that in many different spheres. Just want to get that point. Councillor Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak, not being one of your committee. Very keen for this, or for members to adopt this. And in particular, you know, I noticed big names, IKEA, Coca-Cola, Specsavers, within the report. It would be good, advantageous for the environment if we could follow some of Germany's benchmarks with regards to packaging, etc., and the need not for X number of tonnes to go to landfill.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Are we happy to accept the recommendation?
Agreed.
Thank you. I move on now to corporate issues. The first one is scrutiny to the task panel on contracting with other local authorities. Can I ask Tony to thank you? I'm happy to sign. I don't mind which one. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. First to see if the Chairman of S&I's in the S&I carried out a review of contracting with other local authorities, the principal focus in fact being on the project we carried out with Rugby Borough Council to provide the new crematorium. There is a fairly extensive set of comments and observations listed on pages 99 through to 102 of the report, and the S&I report simply recommended on the basis of those comments and observations that we should look to take them on board when updating council's procurement practices, particularly the new corporate procurement strategy, and we should look to take them on board when we're reviewing the project management methodology. So those see things that could be done at present straightforwardly, and therefore we propose that those recommendations with a couple of minor tweaks are accepted. You'll see that elsewhere on the papers there is the new corporate procurement strategy that has taken these comments on board, and indeed done some work on project management methodology as well.
Very much indeed, Simon. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm very grateful for Simon's comments. I felt that it was a piece of work well worth doing. It was timely in as much that these reviews were in fact coming through for 2 documents. It gave us an opportunity, whilst not to do a scrutiny review of the crematorium project, but to use the experiences gained for recommendations going forward. I believe we managed to capture that, and I'm really grateful that the recommendations have been reviewed with the documents coming forward, and that when you read the document that is actually within this agenda, you'll know the comments that come in there, which actually were raised at this point. So, very happy with it, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Thank you for the task panel's good work as well. Any questions or comments? You have to set the recommendations. Agreed. Thank you. Second next item, scrutiny group task panel and corporate strategic plan performance reporting. Simon.
Thank you, Chairman. I was sounding more busy myself, but Scrutiny Improvement carried out a review on the way that we use the corporate strategic plan to inform members of the Council's progress. I think it's a number of recommendations emerged from that, and they're set out in tabular form on pages 103 to 105, together with comments on those and the suggested text of actions, if you like, for Council. In the vast majority of cases, we felt we could happily run with what was proposed. There's only one which is suggested to be not to be taken forward, which is recommendation 7, which is about presenting to Council the corporate plan, and that's simply because the practice here has never been to present Council for information reports. In practice, what's suggested is all members will receive the corporate plan and clearly can raise matters of Council if they so wish. Other than that, and some pretty minor sort of tweaks around the edges of things, it's proposed to accept what the Scrutiny Improvement Committee recommended, and perhaps I will draw your attention most of all to the new format corporate plan, which is on page 115 of the papers. It should be in colour, I trust, and it's colour it wasn't, which shows what we're intending to do in response, but also as a youth opportunity to look at the plan again. So it shows, hopefully clearly, visually, what the target is over time, what the performance is over time, together with the comments and the safety strikes and so on. So with that, Chairman, I'll happily take any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Simon. Councillor Randall.
Yes, thank you. Yes, on number 7, I've got that to ask was where do, if it's not given to full council, where do the public find this information? Because if it's just given to the members, just stay amongst us, and is it not something that the public's got a right to see? And then on number 8, in the comment box, it says it does not use trend arrows. Are we going to use trend arrows or are we not going to use trend arrows? Because we have trend arrows at S&I and we felt that they were valuable at all.
Chairman, two things. I don't think there was a recommendation to publish the corporate strategic plan performance data, and therefore, obviously, there was no recommendation was made in relation to it. Recommendation was there. Publishing is a problem, we said that. In terms of trend arrows, no, it's not proposed to use trend arrows in any publication of the plan, because our experience from previous periods when trend arrows have been used, they just cause utter confusion in the end, because it matters critically from where you start taking the trend. So if I take the trend quarter to quarter, say, it might look like it's going up. If you take it from one quarter to the previous year, the same quarter, it might be going down, and so on. It just provides endless room for confusion, manipulation, whatever you want to call it. So really unhelpful. Hence we've got a graphical presentation which avoids all those ambiguities, was to be preferred.
Thank you for that, Simon.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll come back on is say something, if you take, for instance, recycling figures, actually the trend arrows across that time would be quite useful, because we could see actually the trend arrows going up and down across that time. So I still think that they're useful.
Okay.
I can comment if you want, Gemma. What I would say is if you look at page 150, you can see very clearly if an indicator is moving up and down in the graphical form.
It's already there. I agree with the point. I mean, if you're on the website within the corporate plan, can't you? At that point, you should be covered by that when the. Is there anyone else? Councillor,
just a brief comment, Chairman. We're talking about the corporate strategic plan, and we look at this tableau which we receive quarterly. But of course, the corporate strategic plan also includes a document, a statement of the strategic plan.
It does.
Which caused some minor confusion at the beginning of this task kind of work, because that document wasn't in everybody's hands at the time. It could have been, but it wasn't.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I know on page 112, highlighting good practice, when you're talking about portfolio holders, etc. My experience back in the day was that portfolio holders during that meeting were challenging to other portfolio holders. It wasn't simply a case of here's a report and take it or leave it. A number of portfolio holders often challenge others. So that was just a comment. The on page 113, full councillors should have access to the corporate plan report recommended be circulated to members each quarter. It doesn't say how it should be how it should be circulated. Quite honestly, a document of that size, except that the new draft is there. I would sincerely hope it's electronic and not paper, if that was to go forward. And I do have concerns within the draft document on page 115. Whilst I accept that members should have as much information as they should to do their jobs. However, there is a possibility that within the measures column there could, I feel, be some commercial sensitivity. And I would assume that hopefully that would be excluded from the comments for the general public at large, as it were. That's all, Chairman.
I certainly hope that's the case, and I'm sure it will be the case. Also, I think it's helpful that the thing about targets is, it's always this way, are the targets set in the right way? You can have performance data that looks brilliant, might be because the targets are too low, or you can have performance that doesn't look so good because the targets are too high. I always think target setting is very, very important, how you set targets, and then how you measure it's obviously equally important. So I always think this sort of document, we do challenge it, see what maybe a lot of members don't realise, but I do accept that. I mean, not on the strategy group, because we do meet quarterly portfolio meeting with the SNT, and we do challenge lots of stuff there. We challenge but I think that's quite helpful to have this coming from backbenchers in a way that actually is asking that same question. So I know for the fact we do that already. So it's good to actually you're putting that challenge forward. But I do think also, when you look at targets and you look at trends, it's very important that trends are actually on a level basis, you know, it's a like-for-like basis. Those figures have been set against targets like-for-like basis. But also, setting the targets, importantly, is also setting challenging targets which are realistic, as opposed to totally unrealistic targets on one hand, or very, very simple ones to achieve on the other hand. And I think that's the thing you've got to try and get right. So it's not an exact science, but I think this is a very helpful guide to see how we're doing overall as a council moving forward. Are there any more comments? If not, can we agree the recommendations? Again, I think the task panel for all their work, the Wendy will be on that one, and thank you for that as well. That's agreed, thank you. Next item is the draft data protection policy manual, which is on page 117. You see the recommendation before you there that the revised data protection policy Appendix 1 and manual Appendix 2 be approved. I hope you've read the report. It's a fairly short report actually, but the internal audit recommendations are included on 4.2 there, and it clearly says the revised policy will mitigate the risks identified by that audit by placing mandatory requirements on all staff to receive training in order to comply with the Data Protection Act. It's recommended that staff undertake e-learning by Daventry every 2 years. So are you happy? Any questions about from committee or otherwise? Councillor Charter.
Just a comment, Chairman.
Yes.
This is a subject which I used to teach at the
I
university.
thought you were quite knowledgeable, yes.
And I welcome this report. It's good that we're keeping up to date and on top of this. I particularly noted the comment from in 4.2 which said most teams have requested some small group training. And I think it's important because this piece of legislation, I say again that the first Data Protection Act was dated 1984, which was ironic really. It was then revised in 1998. But it's very much misunderstood by people. It's based on Civil 8 principles, and they basically quite easily and simply say that you should only collect the data that you need, and you should only use it for the purposes for which you collect it. So that's the summary. We're talking about personal data, and it's important that people, especially in these days of leaks here, there and everywhere on the internet with a capital I, that they should understand that we understand the law, and all our staff understand the law, and we are working within the law. I think that's important, so I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Things like that. Are we happy to support it? Thank you. The next item is rescindment of strategies. I thought it was an interesting page, this one, a short one there. That the data quality strategy is rescinded, and all references to current policies and strategies should be taken to refer to the information risk strategy, and also the formal housing communications and marketing strategy is rescinded. Do you want to comment on that, Simon?
But Chairman, just very briefly, both documents are well past their sell-by date. The Council's policy objectives are fully set out elsewhere, and it will tidy things up to have these ones taken out of the way.
Thank you. You happy with that, Commission? Is that agreed?
Very agreed.
Thank you. Next item, next area is access and communication issues, draft community engagement strategy 2015 to 2020. Councillor Wayne Howard.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek agreement to consult with stakeholders and the wider public on the Community Engagement Strategy 2015 to 2020. We are committed to involving local people in shaping the areas that they live and the services they receive. We recognise the vital role that the effective community engagement plays in helping residents to be better informed, involved in decision making, and to feel that they can influence change in their communities. This strategy builds upon previous work by setting out objectives and actions for improving and expanding our current consultation and engagement practices. It also sets out our principles for engagement and provides a clear framework that will help the Council to coordinate and target its engagement activities more effectively, so to ensure we deliver real benefits within the community.
Thank you, Mr. You've got one resolved item there, which is for you. Any comments, or do you want to... Sorry, comments here. Okay, Councillor Hills.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Totally support this. I think community engagement is vital, and it enables us to have, and our community, some idea of what we're going to do, and therefore the strategy, I think, is very important. I totally support it, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. Councillor Chandler.
Briefly, Chairman, I of course support this and all that it says. It says that copies of the draft strategy and questionnaire will be placed on the Council's website and hard copies in all the libraries. Please remember that there are some of us to whom neither of those sources are readily available, and so we need to be sure that all of the parishes are informed of this so that they can then make their own arrangements as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Great. Makes sense. You happy to support the recommendation? The resolved item, actually.
With that amendment?
Well,
No, it's not an amendment.
I think the comments been made.
Yeah.
Support.
Secondly,
We agree with the resolved item, yeah? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Howard. Next one's housing and environmental health issues. First item, enhanced dog control powers. Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to invite strategy to approve the consultation process relating to the consolidation of the Council's 3 dog control orders into a single public space protection order, and to consult on 2 new potential offences which will also form part of that order. The Antisocial Behaviour, Crime and Policing Act of 2014 provides local authorities with the power to create a public space protection order where they are satisfied that activities carried on in a public place are having a detrimental effect on the quality of life of those in the locality, and that the effect of those activities is likely to be persistent or continuing in nature and justifies the restrictions imposed. This report seeks approval to consult on the consolidation of our existing dog control powers within a PSPO, and to determine if the introduction of new controversial powers which aim to enhance the Council's ability to deal with the irresponsible dog owners that have to the support of the public and other interested bodies. Therefore, I ask to resolve that the consultation process be undertaken on the replacement of the 3 existing dog control orders with 1 consolidation public space protection order, and 2, that the consultation process be undertaken to consult on 2 potential new offences to be included in the order, namely making it an offence to fail to have the means to pick up after the dog, and to fail to keep a dog on a lead at Daventry Country Park. Thank you, Chair.
Committee, Councillor White. Open to discussion. Let's see who wants to go first. Let's go this way. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. I had an overarching query and then a specific one. The first one was whether we should be going out to consultation during PERDA on an issue that is defined in the report as being controversial. And then the second point I had was, if we are, it seems to be a fairly weak evidence for the motivation to ban dogs without leads in Daventry Country Park. I think the evidence given is the number of dog attacks and the number of reports of dog fouling, but there's nothing specific apart from an anecdotal report that it is a concern to lots of people about Daventry Country Park. So it strikes me that we would need to bolster that in order to go to even to go to consultation. It seems to me it's done on the basis of anecdote rather than unless the evidence is there and it's not going to look good.
Okay, I'll come back to you on. First one, then what is Ross on the first point?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, the third of you.
the language to be careful about is politically controversial. So just bear in mind the sense of the language, if you like. But the issue here is also about the consultation, where they have a consultation after the election. And that, I believe, is the indication that we will consult after the election anyway. So we won't actually be able to for it.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank
Go
you.
down this way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, how are we going to consult regarding the country park? Would we have a stand set up so as we can talk to people coming in using the country park? Because obviously if it is in the country park, that's where you're going to find the dog walkers. And on the failing to pick up after the dog, I've got to say that in all the years I've lived in Daventry, I have never ever seen a dog warden walking about. So actually, who is going to dish out these fines? And when I have looked after a dog, I generally used to take 2 bags out with me, and often I would only use one on rare occasions. 2. And so I pick up after my dog, and I go and put it in the bin, and I'm now on my way home, and I get stopped. And I'll say, well, I've just disposed of it in the bin. But I haven't got another spare one, so I'm going to get fined. Or I could be one where I think, actually, do you know what? I never want to pick up after my dog. I'm going to carry my bag in the pocket, because if I get challenged, I'll just say, I've got a bag. So to me, I just don't see the point of it at all.
Okay, fair enough.
But, I can understand being fined for not picking up, but I just do not think that's fair.
Well, thank you for your comments there. I'll come back in a minute, Mike, okay? Is it Alan on this side? No, who's wanted it? Sorry, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, anecdotal stuff, I think, is what it's all about. We've had trouble just recently in the centre of the town.
Yeah.
If you take Oxford Street and take Shoe Street, we've had habitual fouling by dogs there, and this has been on, I don't know who caused, but a massive proportion. So this is no kind of a dog that's some massive thing, but there must be someone or persons taking their dog into the town. If you go into Foundry Court, there's an area of land, a triangle of land with a silver birch tree, and it is being used as a dog's lavatory for me. The ground is totally covered from one end to the other with dog feces. So there we are, adjacent to the church there, the Reformed Church, Joseph Priestley Court that we have an area. Now, I've made submissions for the last 6 months to this council on these matters related to this, because it seems to me that we get a number of people who are habitually abusing the public space. The implication is, apart from civic pride, which I think one would have, of course there's some health issues that are attached to this, and therefore I think we just need to make certain that in the public consultation what we do press on is that yes, we're trying to encourage civic pride and responsible dog ownership, but also actually that there are some serious health issues related to this, and these matters in actual fact ought to be the subject of this is discussed in taking decisions about how we deal with dogs and clearing up after dogs and what have you. That would include places like the country park. So there's an anecdotal evidence, and I think if you go around there now, you'll probably see the evidence lies there, because these dogs are being taken along, and quite clear this wasn't a dog wandering around on its own. They've been stopped in front of shops, and they've been allowed to foul in front of the shops. They're fouled in front of Joseph Priestley Court, where people obviously live, and they have some in other parts. And this has been really something that's really quite disgraceful. I think we need to press home the point that the implication of this is civic pride, public health, and against that backdrop, allow people then to make decisions about how we deal with this matter. on the comments made by my colleague from the round, I can't speak whether the tag in the pocket and all the rest of it is or not the solution, or whether people should I'm not really, I don't want to particularly send people to prison, but these people who habitually say there's an act about they just disregard public health, and particularly the health of our children. And I think there's some serious implications there, and it's very difficult for this council to deal with this, but we do need to press it over in the consultation process.
Very much indeed,
I
Councillor.
think
You
it needs
support
to be
the consultation?
with consultation process with 17.
So you've got two consultations which you support?
I do agree.
That's very good. Well, I mean, it's a consultation that comes in the day, so we want to get feedback. So Councillor Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I do have a slight problem with number 2 on page 191. Failed to keep a dog on a lead at Daventry Country Park. First and foremost, Daventry is in the happy position, Daventry Town as opposed to district. Daventry Town is in the happy position of having more public open space now, emphasis on public open space, than it's ever had in its entire life. I question why the country park is itemised. I feel that it should be all open space, all public open space. I question whether there should be a clause in there regarding dogs being muzzled, but then it gets into the area of dangerous dogs, so I would take advice on that. The other action that I personally would take is the removal of all dog bins, because quite simply, why should I pay for somebody's dog poop to be taken away? I don't have a dog. And recently at one of the meetings, a lady from one of the villages, who shall remain nameless, and the village remain nameless, described how they have a poo tree. As when the dogs are taken for a walk and the owners pick it up in said piece of plastic, they hang it on the tree. So now that tree has become known locally as the poo tree. I think that dog owners should take responsibility. I think we should remove all dog bins, and that the owners should take it all home, and addition of public open space instead of just singling out Daventry Country Park.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Howard?
Yeah, I'm afraid I actually agree for the first time ever with Councillor Wendy Randall. Most of what she said here tonight. It is disappointing about the country park. I don't believe that dogs should be on a lead. It's the owners that are the issue, not the dogs. I think if you're going to make officers enforce that dogs should be on a lead, then you also need to give an area that dogs can run free. A lot of dogs can't go to the toilet on a lead. They need to have a little bit of open space and run around. As a dog owner, I don't have an issue with carrying bags. But again, I have to agree with Councillor Wendy Randall, simply because you can have bags and you do give bags to other people, and some people pick up other dogs' mess. So I actually think it's a shame that we're going down this route, because most dog owners are very sensible. I think the officers need to concentrate their time on being out more in the field and catch the people who actually pick up dog litter and then throw it into the hedgerows. I also don't agree with Colin Paul, simply because I think we should have more dog bins around the town and the district.
So are you saying that you're not against the consultation then?
No, I'm not against the consultation.
The points you're raising may come back in the feedback.
Yes.
That's what I'm making. I'm not taking a decision tonight, just we're taking a decision to go out to consultation.
Well, I think we need to think about it a little bit more.
Well, some of these points you're making may come back in the consultation if it reflects what people out there are thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can I come back briefly, Chair?
Very briefly, if you can, Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm in favour of the consultation. I think it will show or come out, a number of excellent ideas. However, I do take to task the fact of dogs on leads. Now, it only takes a friendly Labrador of 6 stone to jump up on a toddler who is 1 stone to cause him extreme grief and harm. So whilst I was a dog owner for close to 40 years, I do appreciate that there are fears with regard to dogs, and if it's a public open space, then they should be on a lead.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Thank you, Councillor Osborne.
I too agree there ought to be more dog grooming. In fact, I think the fact that a dog warden could now and again catch somebody irresponsible letting their dog poo somewhere isn't going to get us anywhere. I think the only way you're going to stop things like that, you've got two groups of people, responsible dog owners and irresponsible ones. We all see the responsible ones, they pick the stuff up. The irresponsible ones are the ones that are out at 7 in the morning when it gets dark and their dogs do it everywhere. Why don't we have a law in this country? I'm not suggesting that we have one here. We ought to have a law in this country that ban people from having dogs when they're caught they're not picking the stuff up. Because it's the people, it ain't the dogs, it's the people, as we know. And until we have something like that, we won't have more responsible dog owners. We want more responsible, not irresponsible dog owners. So make things tougher for them. Okay, we're not going to do it here. Okay, for consultations, but okay, government, do something about it. Stop people from having them.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Osborne. Going round again now, Councillor Ramel.
Yeah, all I was going to say, be mindful that actually in the town centre it's not always dog food.
Councillor Campbell.
It's not a nice thought, and that's...
I realise tonight we're only resolving to go to consultation, but the point I was trying to make earlier was that I think the reason should be south for the consultation, and to me, it just seems like a fairly random decision to suggest that dogs have to go on these around Daventry Country Park and not any other part of the district. And it's just, I mean, sometimes things have to be controversial to be consulted, but this seems to be controversial for controversial sake, and I don't feel that there's a rationale for doing that particular part of the consultation. It doesn't seem to me to make
It's
any
very
sense.
interesting, actually. Dog fouling nets is one of the biggest complaints we get about dog fouling nets. It's one of those things that does seem to create a lot of...
I completely agree, and it happens in the villages and in the town. It's just why we're singling out Daventry Country Park.
Okay.
I don't think we've explained that well enough in our paperwork.
Councillor?
Yes, if I could broaden this a little bit.
Broaden to where?
I'm doing this in terms of the debate in Acton. I want to take into account, particularly in Daventry, the River Road, which has been pigeons and doves and things, which, as you know, are fouling the canopies in Daventry. We have some damage being done to our buildings in many of our listed buildings. The fabric of our buildings is being done. Now, I once again suggested that there needs to be some restraint on pigeon population, because it does, and they talk, it has to be, I suppose, what it bluntly, the humane colour approach. But if we don't do this and the breeding season is coming, then you'll see increased problems with rock dumps that are found in our buildings and damage to the fabric. Now, this isn't just a complaint from myself, this has come from the business community who are hardly fed up with this. And if you look at the canopies in Bowen Square, glass canopies, they've got pigeon dropping on them, they spill over onto the footpaths. If you go to the other side of High Street, I've had complaints coming in from owners of buildings there and premises there about the problems they get with these rock dogs and pigeons. Now, I've sent circulars into the DDC that we might hire a raptor to frighten them away. I mean, somehow or other, I think someone was saying, thinking I'm stupid, maybe I'm stupid, but I don't think don't answer that question, please. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that in actual fact, I don't think the raptor is going to fly around. In actual fact, is going to drive the pigeons or the raptors away from Daventry. And there is some action that needs to be taken, because once again, it's public health, it's pride in actual fact, and these kind of things need to be addressed. And I think in actual fact, we've been, as it were, marking time on this one, and I would have wanted to broaden the control powers to the fact that other, we call them flying vermin, if you like, are also put under control, so that the town is a proven training place and working with those who use the town, whether we live here or when they come from outside.
Well, we're very generous tonight, Councillor, because your last meeting of the strategy group. Yeah, it did digress a bit there.
Did you not have thought that was quite important?
I think it's quite important. It's not the paper we've got before us tonight. That's why we're making recommendations tonight before us in the consultation. But I think those points have been noted. I know you've written to me about them, I know you've written to office about them. I have received them. Also, one more speaker. That's a pleasure. What's the other speaker on this side? Councillor Hill.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. There's no doubt about it that dog mess is a severe problem. It really is. The majority of dog owners are responsible, but it's the few that aren't responsible that we've got to tackle. I think the discussion tonight shows up the sort of replies that we're going to get as part of this consultation. But nevertheless, I think the consultation should go forward. Our Residents Association were very successful when the council supplied us with the sprays and we went round and sprayed the mess, and it certainly cut it down in our area. And when you look where I live, we get a lot of dog walkers go up into the country park. Now I know you've got the cows and things like that, but basically some of the pathways there, the bins are full. If we're going to have bins, they need to be made sure that they're emptied regularly, because they're not always emptied quick enough up on Borough Hill, and that the mess is cleared up. So therefore I think that we've got to do something like this on the consultation, because we've got to find a way to get back to the people who are responsible and make them realise that, you know, it's not on, not just from the point of view of appearance, but very much from the point of view of health, where you look at children and young people. And that's one of the things that causes me a lot of concern. So I think we've got to go ahead with the consultation, but I think you're going to get numerous and varied replies to it.
Very good, Councillor Hills. Well, Councillor White, back to you now. We've got how are we going to consult was one of the questions early on, and who's going to do it, and also why just the country park, not all open spaces? I think it's all three areas.
But take the second one, the country park. They've actually got evidence of the problems there, but there is no order at the moment to deal with that. So this is what the idea is to, if the consultation comes through and it works out and it comes into force, then you will have the ability to control the dogs, and also hopefully the small minority of people it will deter and eventually end up with a clean park. As far as how we want
consultation will begin after the election.
And how long will it last for? Do you know? 10 weeks, okay, and then it will feed back into
maybe September.
September's cycle meetings, yeah. Okay, thank you. How's it going to be undertaken, the consultation, Maria?
A range of methods.
To be widely publicised?
Yeah, through not just members of the public, parishes, community groups,
that's good.
online consultation, with Kennel Club, RSPCA, number of. We'll put all that together and make sure it's a comprehensive consultation.
I'd like to see a widespread consultation.
That's right, no one else is doing anything like this. We've had lots of interest, we've already had interest from the Kennel Club.
Really?
So we'll be taking this very carefully.
That's good, thank you, Steve. So on that basis, we have to agree the two resolved items, committee. Thank you. This one is Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy and Conditions Review, Councillor Warwick. Well, I just want to ask you to the portfolio holder, you're deferring it to the chair of the licensing board.
I am indeed.
Okay, Councillor Carter. Have to invite the portfolio holder first.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I thought Matt was going to say something. Sorry, Ken. The recommendations here are that we adopt the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy and conditions as reviewed. And the second recommendation is that the Council as Licensing Authority delegates authority to the Community Manager in consultation with the Licensing Committee Chair to agree minor amendments to the policy. If I can just go and explain a little bit about recommendation 2. The actual policy has been put together through a lot of hard work by the licensing committee, who looked at the old documents that we had, and as a team we put together the new policy as you see before you. However, you may also know that the deregulation bill is still on its way through Parliament. It's not likely to receive royal assent until the end of the year. And it is also likely that the Law Commission will continue to make changes to the policy before it reaches its final destination.
which is why we're asking for this council to approve the delegated authority to the community manager. Actually, I would like to change this in consultation with the licensing committee rather than just the licensing committee chair, whoever that might be, because other consultations have involved the entire committee as part of their remit. So I would ask that that minor alteration is put forward in the recommendations.
As long as that's practical, Councillor Carter, because it's about one thing talking to an individual, one thing talking to the committee. So I'm not sure what the practicalities are around that. I'm not against it, I just want to understand the
I think
practicalities.
sometimes we might have to make changes very quickly to comply with the law, and there's only 6 or 5 scheduled committees during the year, so that might be impractical. It might. Okay.
Well, you could put down consultation licensing chair or committee if possible.
Yeah.
Or committee if possible, is that okay?
Yeah, that's right. If I can just give a real example of just how complicated this deregulation is. I'm not intending to read all of this, but I think it's quite relevant. This is talking about cross-border hiring. It says the most notable piece of case law on cross-border hiring was between Newcastle City and Berwick Borough Council. Apparently, Berwick's licence fleet had grown from 46 taxis to 672. Many of the fleet were not operated in Berwick, but had applied there as a result of a less stringent application process and were operating in neighbouring areas. Now, we have this problem, and I think we're working hard to get around this. But then it went to case law, and the judge rejected Berwick's arguments that it is obliged by law to issue a hackney carriage licence to any applicant so long as they and their vehicles are fit. But at the end of this, he says, whilst I cannot at the moment conceive of it being rational to grant a licence to those who intend to operate their hackney carriages remotely from Berwick upon Tweed, I am not prepared to say that it is bound to be unlawful. And that is just one example of this so-called deregulation bill. So there's a lot of what has been described as disparate documents. But we are continuing to work with Ed Cook and Maria, and I'm sure that we'll come to a sensible agreement as far as we can in terms of the law.
Well, thanks for that clarification, Councillor Carter. Open up for discussion on the 2 recommendations before you without slight amendment. Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of queries, but before, having gone through the Alcohol Licensing Act with Anne and officers and the absolute minefield and grey areas, I congratulate all those responsible in putting this report together. Excellent. A couple of queries though. It's showing the hackney carriage licence plate, but I haven't seen anywhere where they should be displayed on the vehicle. How secure and where they should be. If you're having a GB on your car, then it has to be on a flat surface. With regard to the quote that Anne has just said, when you think that most black cab drivers in London don't actually live anywhere near London. Also on page 248 and 249, it refers to New Street on the north side in the waiting bay, a point from 150 metres east of, and I can already see without looking up that Anne is probably cringing at me. Hackney carriages shall wait only at a stand between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. daily. Anne will no doubt correct me, sorry, Councillor Carter, will no doubt correct me that when this was adopted as a temporary taxi rank, to my knowledge, whilst a member of the licensing committee, it was refused as a taxi rank. And then within page 248 and 249, Tesco car park adjacent to store 3 taxis, and then at the top of 249, New Street for 3 taxis. However, the problem with New Street is the bunny hopping. taxis frequently park on the double yellow lines outside the police station, and they wait for a place outside Domino Pizzas, where it is licensed for 3 taxis, and then they will hop over and fill it up with 4 taxis. When a space becomes available in Tesco's car park, one moves from what was the old Waitrose bus bay into Tesco's. The people outside Domino Pizzas move up into the old Waitrose bus bay, and thus forming 4 taxis in there, and the ones that are parked outside the police station then move over outside Domino Pizzas and put 4 taxis in there. My whole point being, who is going to regulate this and who is going to enforce it? Because, you know, the residents that I speak to in Daventry are a little bit miffed about taxis in and around New Street.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. Do you want to answer that?
I'd like Maria to perhaps help me out on this. As I'm not a Daventry resident, I do understand where Councillor Poole is coming from.
Yeah.
But I understand also that all the police aren't all that interested in trying to enforce this.
Maria.
I think it's fair to say that local police are would like to see different solutions, different arrangements in the town centre. We're certainly consulting them and Northamptonshire Highways about possible differences. But actually, as to answer the question who enforces it is down to the police. I think it's fair to say it's difficult for them to enforce, because actually what they're doing might not be liked by people, but it's probably not a motoring offence, and that's the only way it could be enforced.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions or points? Simon?
Chairman, can I just come back on the suggestion in addition to recommendation 2?
Oh yes.
Consulting with the licensing committee.
Or committee possible.
If possible. If there's the ability to get back to the licensing committee, you would normally have the delegated power vested in the officer. The committee is there able to meet it. You already deal with licensing matters, so you may as well deal with it as a consultation. The emphasis Maria puts on about the speed to respond, but also the emphasis in the recommendation about minor. So if you want to have minor points here, there's a desire to have wider engagement, which I think is what's intended. But I suggest that the amendment be that consultation with the licensing committee chair, or where possible, licensing committee members as a whole. So it's not a committee per se, it's the membership of the committee.
To agree minor amendments.
Yeah, to agree minor amendments. Licensing committee members.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
Yeah. If I could just come back just to
Let's go
clarify
again,
that I'm assuming that minor amendments are only going to come about as a result of changes in the law anyway. Would I be right?
More than likely, but also there's potential for local changes. I mean, if the highways did change taxi ranks or whatever, then we will have to make changes to that, and that would be a minor policy. There's no point consulting more widely if it's a change of a fact.
Change of a fact,
Yeah, so that could be nice.
I don't think it's always been the law to change. I think what we've got in Northamptonshire at the moment is through the Safeguarding Board, Children's Safeguarding Board, is a feeling that there could be more done with licensing committees at district level.
Yeah.
And one of the areas that has been looked at is whether or not our licensed taxis are actually subject to training for child sexual exploitation, for instance.
And I pass this round.
Well done. So there's a change that's not been brought about by the law, but it's been brought about by locality.
Thank you for that, Ian. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, only one point, and I'm a little bit confused really. On page 248, on number 2, when it says about New Street, right, so it's amendments to bylaws, and it says down the bottom that these became effective in 1992. And then over on page 249, not adopted. Is that not in the same place? Because it says on the north side.
Well, at the bottom there, not adopted New Street.
That number on the not adopted New Street seems to be the same as the New Street number 2, so I'm a bit confused now. Is it adopted, is it not adopted?
It does indeed.
So,
It says that's what it says, so we need clarification.
and when you look on the map, they're in different locations.
I can clarify that the current taxi rank outside Domino's Pizza is, although the police aren't keen on it, for various reasons at certain times of day, that is an adopted taxi rank currently.
Right.
The other one, outside Waitrose, which is Colin referred to as their former bus stop, which is what it was, is not currently an adopted taxi line, because that was put to licensing committee
Right.
and not adopted.
Not
There are
adopted.
several methods to do that, and I know the highways are looking overall
Right.
at the overall picture across the town centre, so they could be adopted from that route,
Yeah.
following consultation. But it is something that the local police are looking to review, and we're doing that with them. So it's only informal, but a taxi can stop anywhere
Yes.
on pick-up train.
It can, yes, it
So I
can.
think it's very important to stress that there is nothing wrong with them pulling into New Street. They're not committing any crime. They're not breaking
No
any
offence, no
rules.
offence.
But it isn't an ideal situation, and we are
Okay.
looking, for example, to have different arrangements late at night
So just
to
do that.
flow the people coming out of the nightclubs and things like that, because they're different times of day. There are different hot spots.
Thank you for that. Good spot, Councillor Emma. That's a good spot. Right, any more points on Councillor? Yeah,
Just
then.
have something clarified, please, Helen. Thank you for allowing me to speak. That same taxi rank, if it's not adopted, does that mean that ordinary cars can still park there?
Of course they can.
Because I've seen taxi drivers being not very nice to ordinary car park.
I see what you're saying, so anyone can park there, basically, car or taxi.
Yeah.
So they have no right over the car.
In that case, then the taxi drivers don't seem to know that.
Chair, I might be able to assist. What's happened, and it sort of straggles over, giving people background, the county council have imposed a weighting restriction, double-yellow lines in common parlance, on that piece of road. There is an exemption in that weighting restriction which allows taxis to wait. Well, there's an undertaker's cars, 20 cars, and the other usual ones, but yeah, in terms of general user, it's taxis that are exempted, and that's why the normal metropolitan shouldn't be stopping there, whereas taxis are allowed to stop there.
Is that clarifying?
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
Okay, no, Councillor Howard,
I do believe there's a sign that says drop-off zone.
Yes,
Something
I think
there,
it's
which means you can
Drop-off
stand there
zone.
with your door open. And I think the law states, Simon, you may tell me that if you can stand there with the door
That's
open.
true on any double-yellow line, unless it's got the yellow bars on the curb, which make it a no-waiting area.
So as long as you stand there with the door open, you can stay there for 10 minutes or something.
Well, I doubt it. That's a long drop-off.
Until the police decide they have enough of you.
Nice try there, Councillor Howard.
No, my concern is if it's what
Taking the off my car tomorrow.
Councillor Evans said, if that's the case, if there is a fragment between taxi driver, what happens?
I missed that, sorry.
If there's a fracas between a resident and a taxi driver, does a taxi driver, no one's in the right, are they?
As with any other, they are. If somebody felt a taxi driver was rude to them, they could make a report to us and we could investigate and take action with their licensing enforcement officer. Very quick.
They shouldn't be rude, and that's the point. That's the point you're
That's
raising.
part of their
Councillor Paul,
Yeah, the point that I was trying to make, that when I spoke about bunny hopping, and I go back to the previous police licensing officer who was Tam, yeah, who blatantly said to me, well, what do you want me to do? You know, I'm not casting aspersions against the local force. You know, when it was the Waitrose truck blocking, the Tesco truck blocking the road for half an hour at a time. But these happenings, barking on double yellow lines, are happening outside the police station. And surely it's within the realm of any of the police officers, PCSOs, to say, excuse me, please move on. You don't have to book them, you don't have to do any paperwork, please move on, off of those double yellow lines. Because if they're not on the double yellow lines, then I can park there in my blue badge. But the point is that no action is being taken, and the message on the street is that the taxis are running rife in Daventry. And it's such a minor thing to resolve that you know, it's nonsensical because it is such a minor thing to resolve.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. The feedback's been listened to. Anything else you want to add, Councillor Carter?
Well, only to go along with what Maria's saying, that, you know, it's a police issue to enforce that law.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for us to be discussing it in this meeting.
No.
I understand where you're coming from, but
Not to
just
do the
have to leave it to the
recommendations.
police.
Right, we move to the two recommendations. The second one being, I want to just confirm that one, signed, second
Do
recommendation.
you want me to read that out?
Yeah, just the amendment, thank you.
So, we number 2 as that the Council of Licensing Authority delegates authority to the community manager in consultation with the licensing committee chair, or if possible, licensing committee members as a whole, including minor amendments to the policy.
Thank you. We have to agree the two amendments, two recommendations. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Carter.
Thank you.
Move on now to economic generation employment issues, procurement strategy 2015-2018. Councillor Ober.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Members, our purpose of the report is to seek approval for the adoption of the procurement strategy 2015-2018, which you see starts on page 263. This is an item to be recommended, which you'll see the recommendation. Is an introduction. The procurement strategy is set to deliver the Council's broad objectives to support the pride of the Council, and with that, procurement of the church over the last 3 years is both effective and efficient. I think generally speaking we're happy with that, we support that. We will do passing action that being exactly that.
Yes.
Do I need to go through this line by line,
No,
by
no,
page?
no.
But it might be of interest nevertheless that there has been for a long time critical comment about the role of councils in terms of how the smaller businesses are actually getting access to contracts and things and what have you. Thanks to Maxine Aldred of the Federation of Small Business, and a card he gave me some time ago, it may be of interest to you, or maybe not, but I'll bore you nevertheless. But small businesses are 93%, right? In turnover they provided 46.8%, and the turnover is 37.7%, right? Medium businesses are 6% within the economy, employment 11.7%, turnover 14.3%, and the large businesses are 1%, 41% of employment, and 48% of the turnover. There are over 4.3 million businesses in the UK. Of the 4.3 million, 2.72 million are sole proprietors. Over 99% of all businesses in the UK employ less than 50. SMEs, small and medium enterprises, which are wanting to get access to business with councils, and I say this strategy goes straight to satisfying that, not critical strategy. But they actually employ 12 million people, 50% within the private sector workforce. Turnover from SMEs totals 1.2 billion, 50% of UK gross domestic product, and 60% of all commercial properties come from the small business and innovations come from small businesses. So the smaller businesses, the SMEs, we are now, through this policy, I think, giving them a fairer and greater access strategy, which I think goes along with Maxine Aldred and the Federation of Small Businesses. But the document itself, I think, is designed to make certain this Council, and has a responsibility with these matters, this is not do we want to opt in, do we want to opt out, that we in actual fact I have set up, and I believe in actual fact is a procurement strategy that will satisfy the needs of this Council, its legal requirements, 2015 to 2018, and therefore I would ask you, if you would please, to, subject to further debate, I must have, that you endorse the recommendations to go through effectively to Council. If you wish, and I would be delighted, because it's a lot when I should be here, we'll say thank God for that. I'm happy to go through the strategy, page by page, and it goes on and on and on. But I think in actual fact you'll probably bore the pants off you, so I'm asking you to support the advice.
Oh, not again. You truly are going to be missed, Councillor. No.
Not exciting stuff, but it's something absolutely necessary for the work of this Council. We have a responsibility to discharge through this, which I think this document does.
Thank you.
I think that was marvellous, Chairman.
3.2 is interesting, though, so you've got the key procurements from 24-15 strategy, so I think it's been very helpful to have those listed down there. So thank you, Steve, for that, Councillor Owen. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, I'd just like to make a comment in relationship to my report earlier on. I had taken the trouble to read this document from cover to cover.
Thank you.
It is an extremely good document. It covers, I think, pretty well everything that we're likely to have encountered and will encounter during that period of time.
I think the author ought to be commended on doing an extremely good job in this particular instance, and I think it's very unlikely that we're going to find very much that will fall outside of this.
Well, your reassurance is very comforting, actually, so I know you're looking very proud of it, so thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think within the conclusions, there is a sentence which, as far as I'm concerned, says it all: adoption of a new strategy should help to ensure that the council procures quality work services and supplies which are tailored to meet local needs and deliver sustainable outcomes and value for money. That on the back of the news that 700 new businesses have been created recently over, the short term within Daventry district, and if the council, through their procurement process, can assist those businesses as we have done in the past, then all credit to us. We have a record of promoting business. We have a record of promoting inward investment.
That's correct.
And I think that updating of this strategy will work extremely well in the next 3 years.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments? Are we happy to agree with the recommendation?
We agree.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Evans, for your last formal paper. I did enjoy it. We now come on to... I'm going to get involved in the next item. This is a very important item, actually, a strategic planning issue. The Daventry Development Link Road, funding, I should say. I'm going to hand over to Councillor Chandler to lead on this as the strategic planning portfolio holder. But I just want to say there's an awful lot going on in the background to get to this point, and obviously through the County Council ourselves, we're trying to deliver a road which has massive implications for growth of Daventry Town, and also, I suppose you would argue, for the region floor corridor. And this has not been an easy task so far. So I want to hand over to Councillor Chandler to lead on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure members are familiar with the project named now as the Daventry Development Link Road, or the Floor-Weedon Bypass, which has been within the interests of this council for, to my knowledge, at least 40 years. We do seem to be approaching a critical point where we can decide that the project should go ahead on the back of the content of this paper. This paper describes a potential agreement relating to the funding of this link road. It's clear, I think, and if it isn't, go home and read it again, in the joint core strategy recently adopted, it does make it quite clear that the future development of Daventry Town in particular is crucially dependent on this link between Daventry and Northampton and the motorway network. And so that was further highlighted during the public inquiry examination over the both a projected selection of a building site, development site for the core strategy, and during the determination of the core strategy itself, the development site known as the Daventry North East Sustainable Urban Extension, aka Churchfield. We were told quite clearly, I think, that the growth of the development of that particular sustainable urban extension would be restricted if we could not produce the proposed Daventry Development Link Road. So it's crucial to the future of Daventry and the district. Of course, it's expensive. Some government funding has been brought forward towards the project, but the rest of the funding has to be found from somewhere. Quite a large amount has to be raised locally, but I would urge members not to become alarmed by the size of some of the numbers involved, because they can sometimes cause people to panic. The local highway authority, the Northamptonshire County Council, would normally be expected to pick up the tab for the rest of the cost of the project, but it's not in a position by itself to do that, not now or in the foreseeable future. We don't want this project to be delayed any more as I say, the fact that it's been going on or being talked about for over a generation doesn't mean that we should just go on talking about it. So the report contains a proposed agreement between interested parties for funding the link road, and that's dependent on a number of factors. I'm sure there may well be comments that members want to make. Maybe they're quite happy to accept it. Of course, we cannot say up front this is what will happen, because there could be any time between now and the completion of this project, any number of changes in policy at district, county, or even national level. But using the best information available to us, we have put together a report which shows how this project can be funded and therefore how it can be allowed to progress. The funding is very much dependent on everybody being committed to the project going ahead, and thus far we, I think, are confident in getting the commitment of all parties concerned. That is provided, of course, that this council accepts these recommendations as well. So in order to secure the implementation of the core strategy, and that has much wider implications than just Daventry town, if the development at Churchfield, for example, were to be restricted because of the lack of this link road, then we're in real danger of dipping below the 5-year land supply level again. So we will be subject to development by developer-led development rather than plan-led development, which of course is what we all want. So, MCC have already applied for planning permission to build the road, but I think that shows their commitment, and they've also appointed a contractor for developing the detailed design, and it's expected that that contractor will also eventually get the contract for the construction. And they're intending that that should happen before the end of this calendar year. It's expected to take about 18 months to build, which could mean that, hopefully, and I'm touching wood here, within my lifetime, we might actually see this road opening before the end of 2017. It's also interesting to note that the proposed agreement includes what I've described as restorative works, such that once this development link road is in place, then the A45 through Flor and Wheaton can be downgraded from being a major highway, as it were, to being a local road again, which gives a lot more freedom and to those two communities in particular to develop as they would rather than having themselves split in half, as it were, by the existing main road. NCC currently estimate the cost of the project should not exceed £35.7 million. Say that again, it's a nice number, isn't it? £35.7 million. And may well in fact come in several £1 million below that. 14 million is from the local growth fund is available. There's 400,000 planning obligation fund already secured, and that leaves a gap of about 21 million. Obviously, if that were to be borrowed, then that would create a debt service of about approaching £9 million. So the funding gap then grows to 30 million. And that's a big lot of money. But this gap is proposed to be met through a combination of using community infrastructure levy and new homes bonus. Now, of course, both of those things are subject to them not being changed as national policy by a government. Whether or not we have a change of government, it's still possible to have a change of policy. But we have to go ahead now with what's in place now. We can't go on putting this off just in case something might change. It's also true to say that this council has not yet adopted SIL. We know now that our proposed charging schedule for SIL, the Community Infrastructure Levy, is to be examined in beginning the 13th of May. But if the examination led to changing of the numbers in that charging schedule to the extent that we decided it wasn't worth, as a council, adopting SIL, then that as a funding stream clearly doesn't exist. So let's not complicate the issue too much. So the proposed terms of the agreement are set out on page 293, that all of the expected new homes bonus receipts from Churchfield should be devoted to this. That there should be some SIL paid towards it, and providing point C there, £2 million of revenue funding to help with servicing what debt there will be. Obviously, we want to promote the development of Churchfield so that, or any additional site, in order to make that funding available. And obviously, we would need to keep an eye on progress, things of that nature. The main points in the agreement are set out there. I won't bore you by reading them out. I'm sure you've studied them at length. There are some risks, quite properly. The risks have to be identified, and where possible, you have to measure the likelihood of the risk, the likely effect of that risk should it happen, and what mitigations, if any, you can put in place to avoid it. Please remember always that it is never possible to eliminate all risks. So please don't suggest that we wait until we can come up with a scheme that is risk-free, because that will never happen. There's a nice point on page 296, paragraph 6, the bit in brackets at the end I rather like, about talking about where the SIL comes from, and it says, so avoiding DVC having to pay twice, which is good to see, because obviously we are not asking you to sign a blank cheque. So there are all sorts of things that may go wrong, and there are all sorts of mitigation points are put in there. It's therefore suggested that I'll draw your attention back to the recommendation. There are 2 points here. One is that the agreement relating to funding for the Daventry Development Link Road be entered into with the County Council, as set out in the strategy group report. And point 2, that this council will call on Weedon and Floor parish councils to allocate the SIL that they may receive towards the project as a practical demonstration of its importance to them and their commitment to it. So, Chairman, those are the recommendations. I await comment.
Very much indeed, Councillor Chancellor. I'll hand over to Councillor Over on this one.
So can I just say, Chairman, members, I totally support Alan's proposals here, the council proposals. I think it's absolutely essential. What we do know, actually, in fact, of course, there was a bar in place, effectively prevented Churchfield until such times, actually, that the commitment was in place and the work being undertaken. And I don't know this finished or whether it was started, can't find a certain detail. But in doing this, it actually then it triggers off that opportunity to move the Churchfield forward. At what rate Churchfield moves forward, maybe with the gift of some private ownership, maybe even Christchurch College may influence that. But certainly we want to see that moving forward. I would have thought it was one of the most attractive development areas in Daventry. It sits adjacent to and not far from the country park and all the rest of it. So I would have thought that it would be a particularly attractive proposal in terms of new homes in Daventry, and the mix of new homes that it attracts. There will be a suitable quality of a mix in that suits the aspirations of a growing and expanding community. But this link road is an essential part of the economy of Daventry, and I am very happy now fading all of the RME in Africa to give my support to Alan's proposals here and the recommendations you have before you. Can I just add, if I may, to this, that it also offers the opportunity But as you come into Daventry on the Weedon Road, then you see a most appalling approach to Daventry. And I would hope in actual fact that this triggers in due course the opportunity to make so that the Weedon approach to Daventry, or the Weedon Road approach to Daventry, that in due course in actual fact that land there which in actual fact remains undeveloped, almost brownfield site, and for land by statement. But in actual fact, this also may trigger off the opportunity to see some significant improvement in that particular area. So I think that it isn't only what does the link road do for Daventry and what we can do, this report tells us, and the way it will be funded, but in actual fact that this is an opportunity to put right Daventry, some things in Daventry that have been quite unattractive for many, many years, and to make certain that we present this town far more attractively to the greater community and those people who want to invest in Daventry. I'm quite clear, I think that's already mentioned, we want to attract people to invest, and the way to do it is to make certain this is an attractive town.
Thank you, Councillor Over. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Chairman. There are two reasons why I believe this should be supported. One is I'm already recorded on County Councillor for Floor, along with my two predecessors, Richard Amos and Bill Morton, who have campaigned endlessly to get what was then just a Floor bypass. In fact, he got to a point where my predecessor, who was Richard Amos, he had a bet with fellow councillors that he could actually talk about the Floor bypass in every council debate that came up, and he actually achieved it. I haven't been able to do that. I didn't think it was the right thing to do anyway. But if you could see what Floor was like on a day when there were problems on the M1, when people tried to cross the road and kids tried to get to school, and you got beautiful listed buildings on the main road that have been shut to death with 40-ton lorries. That is one of the reasons Floor needed a bypass. This was before Daventry needed the bypass for its development. So I wholeheartedly support that. This is the best chance that we've had for many, many years with the support of this council, and it wouldn't go ahead. And it may still sort of fail, but pretty sure that it will go ahead, and it wouldn't go ahead without this council supporting it, and to get a bypass for Floor. Now the other reason, obviously it's not called the Floor bypass anymore, it's the Floor Weedon Link called that.
45 minutes.
Yes, yes. Now that will be an advantage to all our villages. You will be aware that our villages have been raped and plundered by developers with large amounts of houses, and we've lost them on appeal because we couldn't demonstrate 5-year land supplies. And Church Fields, with the quantity of houses there, we can't demonstrate that they can be built within 5 years when there is no linking road in place. With this linking road in place, we will be able to demonstrate, and we won't have this continuous argument of we've got a 5-year land supply, which we're now up to 5.9. We won't have that argument because that will keep us going for many, many years. So, as well as securing a better Daventry, a good a good development for Daventry, it will protect all our villages from developments that shouldn't take place. This council's policy has been to put most of its development into Daventry, and Churchfields was the site where it should go. I also support the view that our retiring councillor over there is putting forward that the entrance to Daventry on the 45 is an appalling entrance to what I consider is our maiden. It is an absolutely wonderful town. It can only be improved by what I call a smart development on the edge of the A45 and the approach. So, Chairman, I wholeheartedly support the recommendations and the report.
Thanks, Councillor Osborne. Councillor Warren.
I understand the majority of the funding is going to be coming from SIL receipts from Churchfield. Will the county council's element of the SIL be also put into that pot as well?
Chairman, I think Councillor Warren meant new homes bonus.
Bonus.
With that clarification, yes.
Yes. They will be putting their element in as well.
Thank you. Next one, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a query about new homes bonus. I think it's a very full and clearly written report, and I love it, and the risks are expansive, as Councillor Charlton acknowledged. I think the risk that concerns me most is the sort of use of all new homes bonus monies and the potential risk to our ability to deliver core services, because that our policy, as the report acknowledges, is that new homes bonus is used to deliver frontline or core services. And I think, it's my understanding that the BCLG expects local councils to consult on how new homes bonus monies are spent. So I just had a query about whether such a radical change in use of our receipts of new homes bonus would necessitate a consultation rather than just this discussion here and then going to council. Seems to me a big change in how we use those.
Change, really.
Well, I mean, we are weaning ourselves off our reliance on new homes bonus into our core services. I mean, that's a critical point. The calculation for this doesn't use all the new homes bonus we generate across the district. And it actually aligns it with what's there to actually produce. It is actually producing homes. And without the money that goes into this road, those homes, it's a circular argument, those houses running.
Sorry, Simon.
It might just be helpful, just for clarity, Chair, if I can just refer members to the charts, the plan on page 302, I think it is. What you put there is an extract from the grant agreement with NBC.
Oh yes, yeah.
The very worst case in terms of DEC, then, in presuming that they actually exist at all, but we have to assume that for these purposes, is that Churchfields wasn't delivered at all. Absolute worst case.
Yeah.
In that circumstance, the NHB generated from within that circle, which would be used to backfill, not NHB generated from elsewhere in the district. So it isn't all the districts NHB that would be affected, even in the worst case. I just hope that's helpful for clarity.
Thank you. I mean, I don't want to sound like the government have a long-term plan for Daventry yet, but the reality is that this road has never been closer to being delivered over 40, 50, 60 years. For different reasons in those days, but today's reasons are also the same ones that existed before Weedon originally, and also Upper Haverford potentially, which is outside our district, but also it's about the case of the growth of Daventry. We started the job, we want to finish it. And this is very, very important for the growth of Daventry, more growth into Daventry. It's in our plans for years. That housing growth will deliver far better benefits for Daventry longer term. And there's a lot of good projects, exciting projects coming forward in the next 10, 20 years. And it has to be delivered on the back of the housing growth. People in Daventry want better things in Daventry, which we all want. You're only going to get that on the back of growth and more housing growth. That's been the plan for years, nothing new. It's what we've been saying since 2002. And we're delivering it bit by bit. It's been tough in the recession. We have opportunity to deliver it still further. This is administration requirement for years to back this road. The County Council administration is supporting this road for years as well. They're going to their cabinet, I think it's 2 weeks' time, a paper goes to their cabinet. Pardon?
Well, it's either this next cabinet or the one.
Well, after. So it's going to their cabinet next month or so. It goes to our council, obviously, in May when the final decision's taken. So it's tonight's recommendation. But I don't think you can underestimate. There are risks of tax which have been highlighted by Councillor Chandler. We've mitigated those as best as we can. But obviously nothing's certain in life, and clearly we've looked at all the times the risk there. What happens if new homes bonus disappears? Well, all the indicators would suggest that any government would then find another funding stream for a similar purpose. That's the sort of thing we've been looking at. But there's a risk involved. But clearly this is very, very important to growth of Daventry. It's very, very important, in particular to growth of Daventry, but also important for the villages of Thorweed who've been waiting for this for many, many decades. On that basis, I'll go to a local member, Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I will be brief. I think Councillor Osborne probably covered most of the things I was going to bring up. I think sitting in Daventry is the Daventry Development Link, and sitting in Thorweed, it's the bypass, and I think that's the important thing to bear in mind, depending where you sit as to what it is. It's clearly an uncomfortable position with regard to the funding, but it is what it is. I just trust we're all minded to support this evening. I think it's essential for for the town to move forward.
Thank you, Steve. Councillor Smith. Go for Councillor Elliott next, because I'd like to speak too much tonight.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm very pleased to see that this is now moving, and I agree with everything that's in here. But I must say, and I have said for quite a few years, that I'm very disappointed that this road was not made in the first place to come into Daventry, because it doesn't. I understand about the villages wanting protection, and I agree with it, because the lorries that come through the villages do cause problems. But I've lived here a long time, and the amount of deaths that have been on that road between Dartford and Daventry add up to quite a number. So I would like to think that when this is paid for and put into place, that there might be the chance that the road will be extended into Daventry.
Okay, point noted, I think. I think what I'd like to say, get this point done first. I don't disagree with what you're saying, Councillor. We need to get this point first. We've waited far too long, and this council, as Councillor Osborne said, it's actually the council can make this happen.
Oh, I agree.
With the county council as well. And the county council are very important partners here, so not knocking them at all. But to make it happen, the two of us together can make it happen, and I think the time is now. If it doesn't happen now, it may never happen. That's the point. Councillor Randall.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. 4.4.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm over this, but I would like to see it very clearly on what County Council's commitment was, our commitment, and what grant was. Just very simply, just 3 lines, because I've gone round and round on this, and I've got it right on now. Right, so 4.4, the agreement envisages DDC making the following 4 commitments, paying 100% of the new home bonus, and then later on it says, we're not reliant on new home bonus. So, what happens if my new home bonus stopped?
Well, I said that already. The indications are that any government will have a new funding stream, and that's what we're banking. But the risk is taken, I think, by the county council. Is that right, Sam?
If we've got to the point where the agreement's been signed, so it's in legal force, then the risk is for the county council. If the agreement hasn't been signed prior to some change of policy nationally, then my expectation is the county council would decline to sign it, because they would be signing something which would require them to fund the vast majority of the road. I could be wrong, but that would be my expectation. So the worst case, if you like, for us in that scenario is that nothing happens. The agreement falls away and we have to start again on this process of thinking through how we get this to work. But there isn't really a risk to DDC in that scenario.
And that's the point you're making, Councillor.
And the only other thing on 4.6, it says about parish council contributions. It was suggested probably also reading the full parish commitment, even like they're still. Have they, or have we got to approach them, or what happens if they don't?
I've tried to approach them actually this week, but I think the local member has already been in touch. I had a phone call from Councillor Perry as well, and we'll have to talk to them as well about that. But the point is, what we're saying here is, we're in the fall to see if we can get on. I can tell you personally, I've had lots of phone calls from that area, and they're very keen for this road to be delivered. What we're saying here is, this is a complex funding agreement, and they're going to get money from the seal for growth of Daventry Town. So therefore, we're saying we might see some of that commitment come into. If they want the road bad enough, then they should show that commitment as well. But it's obviously we haven't had a formal agreement yet, as far as I'm aware. Yes.
I mean, you won't be surprised to know that I've already written to them. I asked them, but I've not got a response. I think we'll have a responsive dialogue.
Because they have a commitment to this road, like we do. I think it's only fair they show. Well, I think it's very important. When you talk to local members, I think you realise how important it is for those villages. Councillor Asbury.
Yes, I mean, it should have been built in the M1 was built already, because I think road to
you keep going back now,
there you go. My question is, Nether and Hayford are quite a beneficiary of this bypass. I know it's not, I know now, passages said on that. Have we approached them to put a bit of their seal in?
We haven't. If you want to add Nether Hayford to, or if you want to have it in the local parish too, there's no reason we couldn't.
No hard asking, is there?
Well, exactly. I mean, you've been saying there's a lot of risk here, and more we can round up.
That's a fair point.
Another 2 questions is, the Mickleville development to be passed, was there a 106 agreement there with a fair chunk of money towards this bypass?
Chairman, I believe there is a contribution plan, but that's actually happened since this report was written, so the report doesn't reflect it. It moderately, I think it will.
So the funds start.
It makes a moderate improvement to the should be.
Another thing is the implication of the affordable homes reduction. Our yardstick was 29%, now it's up to 40%. Will that affect the amount of money available because the builder will suddenly come up and say, oh, so it's not viable?
Chairman, the level of affordable housing we secure has quite complicated effects. In terms of SIL, affordable housing is SIL exempt. But we did factor in a fairly healthy level of SIL exemption in our original programming work for the SIL programme. So I'm not too concerned about that. In terms of new owners bonus, affordable housing is actually beneficial because it attracts an additional sum of £350 a house per year for 6 years for each affordable dwelling. So probably on balance, more affordable housing is helpful rather than unhelpful in this scenario.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Paul.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Daventry, over the years, known to the outside world, has punched well above its weight in growth, in innovation, inward investment. Inward investment is now in excess of 150 million. I totally agree with my colleagues. Also, a gentle reminder that we do have a policy for protection of villages and coalescence, etc. The A45, my colleague called it the gateway to Daventry. I would prefer at the moment to call it the back door. It is, as my colleagues have said, absolutely abysmal. Mention was made of whether there'd be a government change in May. Irrespective of whether there is a government change, the civil servants will still be in place who will put their heads together and get the same amount of money out of it. Councillor Chandler quite rightly said one word: crucial. This road is crucial to the development of Daventry, for the continuation of inward investment, housing, the coalescence of the villages being protected, but moreover, it is there to carry our aspirations forward. And not forget that we started those aspirations 12, 15 years ago with the Civic Society meetings, and those were the aspirations then. Those aspirations haven't changed. And the floor bypass, 40 years ago, I can remember travelling up from London before I moved here, and there used to be a little house in Floor with a little flag outside. We need a bypass. And now 40 years later, hopefully, you know, in another year, 18 months' time, we can see progress and it will be built. But it will be built for the betterment of Daventry, it will be built for the betterment of Daventry and district residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Just want to say, I've got two recommendations before you there. Are you happy to agree those, first of all? Sorry, Councillor Chandler.
I just wanted to draw members' attention to a point in the conclusion, which is, I thank my colleagues for their supportive statement. A summary is very clear, and a comment that occurred to me while I was reading this through for about the nth time, it might have been the nth one, that we're not, within this proposed agreement, committing ourselves to anything that we can't deliver. And I think it's important that we bear that in mind.
That's very helpful.
And I would draw your attention to the last paragraph. Between the drawing up of this report and between this meeting and the council meeting at which we choose to adopt it, there is a general election. And it might be necessary for us to have a look at this after the election and before the council meeting if things appear to have changed radically as a result.
I'll be amazed if that changes anything. The way the government works in what, 2 weeks?
We're putting in the caveat that we might need that.
Okay, fair caveat. I just want to say that, I said before, we've never been closer to delivering this road in all the years. If we agree this tonight, it's a recommendation to council, that's the first stage. We've got the stage of council, we've got the county council, we've got to go to their cabinet to take a decision as well. Sorry, Councillor Osborne, you were making...
Yeah, very quick one.
Yes, sorry.
The quick one would be, for the last time, members, that this was at this stage, it again was thwarted by an election at county level.
At county level, wasn't national.
Yeah, no, at county level, there was an election, and that stopped it last time. Okay, this is a national election, but
no, it's not the same, Steve.
It's not the same, but the election did stop it. Yeah.
No, they had a preference to go east of the county.
Yeah, that's right.
And that road's still not been built out, by the way.
No.
So just want to show it takes a long time to get these major roads built.
One would hope, Chairman, that any government after this election will have other priorities.
Okay, well, I don't go on the national scene.
No, indeed not. But I don't think Daventry will feature very high on the agenda.
Can we first, can I agree the recommendations first? We have to agree.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I just say, Councillor Owen, this is your last meeting in Stratford Group, and I think it's quite appropriate actually. I'm sure you're going to speak on the next item, but just in case you don't, this is quite an appropriate item. This is not a hint, by the way, Councillor Owen. I thought this is quite a nice item to finish on actually, because it's something that you've been driving forward on the town centre regeneration programme for a long, long time. If this road gets delivered, it will actually help to deliver a lot of the things you've been wanting to deliver over that period of time in the years ahead. So I thought in a way it's quite a nice way for you to, on the last paper, you may want to speak on the next one, I appreciate that. And obviously it's a nice way for you to finish in a sense of that sense. And I hope, we wish you all the very best actually. Stratford Group will never be the same without you, so you'll probably be aware of that. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but I'll tell you one thing about Chris is, one thing I have to say about him, he stood up in the arena many, many years ago with myself, taking the flag, and one thing about Chris is he'll stand up and be counted, he doesn't duck and dive, he stands up for what he believes in, whether you agree or not, everyone does, we all agree on what we agree in. Chris is the same, me and him have interesting conversations over the years, we don't always agree together, we find a way forward though. But the point I'm trying to say is, that's why I admire about you, you stick to your principles, and you've done really well over the years, Chris, and I want to thank you personally as leader. I'm sure everyone who knows you over the years will realise the contribution you've made, and I think you can go away, your head held high, and you step down from this council after 27 years, which is great, to say what a job well done. I'm sure you'll be writing letters to the paper, so he's got them lined up, Steve, actually, I think already.
This is the first one. I'll tell you the truth.
That's what we're all worried about. But I want to just...
Steve on the way out.
But no, I want to thank you very much indeed, Chris, on behalf of everyone for your contributions.
Well, can I just reply by just briefly? I think that this hasn't been down to me. It's been down to the fact that someone...
It's down to a team effort.
Yeah, team effort, but also we have to try to reflect the views of our community.
Yeah.
This has been very difficult because change is not particularly welcome. I don't mean politically, we're a very conservative nation by and large. And we reflect about it was wonderful years ago and all the rest of it, and why does it need to change? But I think we have been able to persuade by discussion, and the considered view that's come out of our community has been in actual fact that Daventry will benefit from change, not least because there is a need for homes. We're not arguing about that issue, but the Daventry needed to really join in. To be a socio-economic backwater, there was no future to this, and quite clearly with Danbury, Warwick, Market Harbour, all those towns around us being particularly successful in attracting a great deal of investment, it was necessary for Daventry to rise to that challenge. So if I played some small part in that, I've been happy to, but it's been a team effort, of which I've only been a little bit of the front on this. I just hope that whoever picks up the baton in the future realises that we need to continue with this, and they're going to have to realign themselves once again to the reality check, to market forces, because yes, our kind of ambition, aspiration, we must have all those things, we must clutch them as strongly as we can. But the reality check always comes in to align yourself effectively to market forces. I think that we've been quite successfully doing that, while still realising the aspirations, and I think not only this council, but as members reflecting the needs and ambitions of our community. And I've been very proud to be privileged just to be a small part of that.
Thank you, Chris. Well done to you.
So thank you very much for your kind words. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going as well.
And there's something there.
Okay, thank you. So we move on then from that paper to the next one. And this one, of course, we've got pink papers as well. But in public session, we can't discuss anything on the pink papers, so I'm going to do the white paper first. The Phoenix Youth Centre Extension and Enhancement Project Business Plan which I believe comes under Councillor Hills.
Thank you. Yes, this is the Phoenix Youth Centre Extension and Enhancement Project, business plan, and I'm asking for your support and approval. The recommendations, if you condense them, they're there before you. Number one is to meet financial regulations. 2, Sport England grant proposal is accepted. 3, the amendment to the capital programme. And 4, regarding any further funds. When we look at the Phoenix Centre, it's one of our best used centres, not only in the district but in the county. The financial support is there, Section 106 money from the DDC, and also a grant from Sport England. And I would refer you to item 4.4 under value for money. The project will not result in any net expenditure to the council. Officer time, the cost recovery is already in place. With DDC managing the project, and can also recover the VAT. To me, this is a win-win-win situation. The Phoenix, the young people and the community, they all win from this. So I sincerely ask for your approval.
Thanks, Steve. Alan. Open for discussion on the white paper. I have to set the 4 recommendations. That's all you've got. Well done, Alan. Well done. Can I just ask before we go any further, does anyone want to discuss anything on the pink papers? If not, we can close the meeting now. You want to close? Yes, Wendy? Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. That's fine, that's okay. I just asked a question. So that concludes the public part of the meeting.